why are we not doing a D20, right? So we're based in Singapore. It's in Asia. We're not China, right? D20s are pretty hard to get. You're gonna struggle to find a D20 usually, especially when you're. And yes, I understand that most TTRPG gamers are probably in America or in Europe, right? So we're talking like, like the Midwest, talking the UK, Germany. I think mainly those areas. I think Italy is a big one as well. And there's not that many TTRPG gamers in the Asian region. Besides, I think like Philippines and Singapore are already like the biggest ones already, right? Japan has like its own thing, but it's more focused on like Call of Cthulhu and stuff like that, right? So D20s are they're like a gate, they're like a wall, right? If I want someone to try out the game, let's just say you don't want to buy the whole set, you just want to go online and look at the rules, and then you just want to look at the PDF of the cards, right? Which you can get in the pre-launch. Not the pre-launch, sorry. Like in the Kickstarter, we will be offering a digital version, which you'll have a PDF of everything. So you could just play the digital version, and you could just go get your own dice. If you're in Singapore, you want to go buy a D20, you have to buy it online. There's no option. You're not gonna easily go into a shop and find a D20 unless it's like a specialty, like a game shop. And so that was one of the reasons why we just swapped. Okay, like just use the 2d6. Everybody has a 2d6. Everybody has a d6, and 2d6 simply because we wanted to weight the outcomes towards the center. So that's the second reason, which is that D20 outcomes are linear. The odds of you getting a net 1 and the odds of you getting a net 20 are exactly the same, right? They are both 1 in 20. And that also means that every attribute that you add gives you exactly 5% more, good and bad. My design thinking behind like random outcomes for dice, right, is that more often than not for RPGs, you should succeed. So your heroes should succeed about 2/3 to 3/4 of the time. If you have a perfect like linear graph, right, even though statistically over a long enough period of time this is true, it doesn't feel like it. It feels like your dice are weighted, because sometimes you just roll low, sometimes you just roll high. By having 2d6, you will naturally squeeze all the outcomes towards the middle, and you are more than likely to succeed with the addition of attributes, your ability score modifiers and stuff like that, right? So that was one of the main reasons that we decided to go with 2d6 instead of 1d anything, basically. It also means that when you roll a critical success or a critical failure, which is 2 1s and 2 6s, these are also way more exciting, because these are, I think, like 2% rarer than a net 20 and a net 1. You get kind of like the best of both worlds, right? Which is that, okay, you succeed more often, you fail a bit less. When you critical fail, you feel really bad, and you critical success, you feel really good, right? And we have mechanics tied to critical success and failure as well, because of the fact that we have 2d6s, right? And not d10s or d8s, but d6s specifically, because when you have a d6, 1 in 6 is pretty easy to hit. So we have mechanics that are directly tied to critical successes, great successes, and stuff like that, that directly call for it to happen, right? And that was one of the design spaces that is only enabled because we have the 2d6. So there's another reason why we didn't use d20s. Oh wait, okay, there's one more reason, which is that because we don't roll damage, right, everything can be handled by the same dice. The downside to that is if you have tables in your book, so our tables were limited, right? We can only roll 1d6, 2d6, or 6x6 tables, right? Which is the 36. So we're kind of limited in that sense. You can't roll like a d100 or something. We can do like outcome tables, like ranges, but that's what we can do, which kind of forces us to design within a much smaller space to make every single outcome more meaningful. But that's more of a limitation rather than as to why we actually chose to roll 2d6. On the bright side is that you don't have to go about searching for all the different dices. You don't have to search for a d8, a d10, a d12, a d20, and bring all of them to your game, and then have damage. So if you played a spellcaster, you're probably familiar for example, in D&D, if you play a spellcaster, you have many different damage dice, and having like all the dice and having to pick up the correct damage dice and then rolling them all together takes up time per turn in combat, right? And per turn in anything when you're looking for your dice. Having just these sixes, you just pick and go, right? Like literally, if I need all of the dices here are d6s. So if I need 2d6, bam, 2d6. 4d6, okay, it's all d6s, right? And it speeds up. It really speeds up how fast dice rolling happens in combat and out of combat, right? Because in out of combat you also roll 2d6 and you just need to beat the target number. Now you might say, yeah, you can roll a d20 and you also be a target number as well. Yes, but remember, we are a combat-focused game, right? We want combat to feel good. We want combat to be interesting and fun and fast. Important, it has to be fast, right? We want each turn to feel fast. Not the entire combat is fast, but each turn should feel fast enough that you feel like you're making interesting decisions at any point in time. From our playtesting, I think our combat, on average, if you have 4 players and you're fighting 5 to 6 monsters, it takes maybe about 20 minutes, maybe a bit less. If you're fighting more monsters or you're fighting let's just say a boss monster or whatnot, maybe it can take up to 40 minutes, 30 to 40 minutes for the entire combat, depending on how aggressive or how optimized your team is. Those numbers are conservative and for a non-optimized team. It's a bit faster, but what's more important is that while you are in the midst of the combat and you're doing the storytelling of the combat during your scene turns and whatnot, it feels fast. And that's more important than it actually being fast, in my opinion. Because if it feels fast and you're having fun, it doesn't matter anymore, right? Like you could take 8 hours and if it's fun, it's fun, right? If you're playing a video game, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about, which is that whether or not something is tedious is the real problem. And so that's what we designed out of it. Plus we have 1 dice, we just use 1 dice type, and the chosen dice is d6. Yeah.